how can Green Bay improve on last season? Defensively is where we're turning our attention to. The offense should be great again. Now, Ziggy made a great point to me, Jack. We were talking about different guys the Packers can go after in free agency. And, some huge names come up like T. Higgins at one point. I heard a Packer podcast talking about T. Maybe go and try and trade for him. It's probably not going to happen. But we're trying to focus on defense here. And what's the main position that all Packers fans are paying attention to this offseason? Safety. They're trying to figure out who can be the safety, who can be used in the Hafley system, where that safety position is also important. And Ziggy, who was the name that you said to me was the perfect fit for the Packer defense?
This is a player who I've been high on since they were in the draft. I'm sure you remember that, Paul. And
of course,
it's not a player that a lot of people are talking about, or at least is not getting as much attention as I think they could. I think Kyle Duggar out of New England is the perfect fit for this Packers defense. And I'll tell you why. If you listen to what Hafley was saying they want in a safety, here's what they want. They want someone who's flexible, who can play safety, who can play like nickel corner, someone who can be moved around quite a bit. All right, well, Kyle Duggar played 9 games at nickel corner last year. All right, we need someone who's a leader, who can communicate, right? The defense, a lot of times they looked out of sorts last year. Defensive guy for New England. He was the person on the field transmitting the play calls to everyone, making sure they got in order. You say, oh, well, is he going to be available? Can he get franchise tagged? He's not getting franchise tag because the Patriots need to use their franchise tag on their tackle, Michael Onwenu. So it's the perfect storm for a guy who fits the system. They want to play a lot of those cover one. They don't want to do the too high shell thing, right? They like playing a lot of cover one. He played a lot of cover one in New England. That's what Belichick does. So he fits the scheme. The talent fits. He should be available at a reasonable price. These safeties aren't like wide receivers. You don't need $25 million a year to lock down a good free agent wide receiver. And we saw, adding a safety can make a huge difference. I think what happened with the Falcons defense last year, huge difference just bringing in that safety, because these are the playmakers, right? They're the guys that make those big, flashy, huge plays. And that's what the Packers need. They need someone who's good in run defense. They need someone who can generate big plays. They need someone who fits the system well. Kyle Duggar is exactly that guy, and I think I know exactly where he's going.
That's
Didn't he go to some obscure college?
Duggar?
Yeah.
I can't remember. He's
he went to Leon Renard.
Yeah, what is that, Division 3?
I think it was D2, but yeah.
I remember he was drafted with a pass, round 2.
I don't know, Lenore Ryan, it's not a huge school, right? He's probably their most successful player.
Yeah, that's such a Patriots pick.
A lot of Packers fans also might have no idea who this guy is. This guy kind of flies under the radar. He's one of the better safeties in football, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people listening have no idea who this guy is. But you go out and you make this move. Like you said, Ziggy, it's a perfect fit. I love this quote from Hafley. He goes, I want a guy who can erase things, eliminate explosive plays when we play defense. If a run hits up the middle, this guy's coming out of nowhere, middle of the field with his hair on fire. He's able to get the guy down. I also want a guy who, when the ball carrier is wrapped up, goes and finishes off the pile. And he just continues to go on and on. I want someone sideline to sideline, someone who can make a play on the ball. And the article that I'm reading, he goes, he kind of just wants a perfect safety, which doesn't exist. But when you read all these things, Kyle Duggar very much fits a lot of those traits as you just described. So kind of a perfect fit here to go around to defense, where a lot of the pieces that Hafley wants are already in place. He had this quote. I couldn't stop laughing. Maybe because I'm a 10-year-old kid at heart. Hafley said, I can't wait to get my hands on these guys. And he goes, I think there's quite a few cornerstones already in the building. So you go ahead and shore up that secondary, where there's only 3 safeties, I think, on the roster right now, or who would be on the roster. This becomes a more dangerous unit. And
I think
here we go again.
It's big too, as Ziggy stated. You can get a guy like Duggar for relatively cheap. Nothing to break the bank.
Yeah, Ziggy, do you know what Duggar would go for?
So I'm not entirely sure. My guess would be I'm assuming he signs a deal just outside the top 5 safeties in the league. So something between 15 to maybe 17 million a year.
Yeah,
over 4
not
years.
necessarily cheap,
but
impact player.
Worth the price.
You compare that to, people are talking about bringing in T. Higgins, right? T. Higgins is getting paid 22 this year, and he'd want 25 APY.
Yeah, and what's more valuable to Green Bay?
You've got the receivers. You'll find a way to get the tight ends. It's a deep receiver draft. You can take one if you want. What you need is a functional defense. Kyle Duggar, he's known for getting defensive touchdowns. He had 3 in a season. You need a guy who can get turnovers. He consistently generates interceptions. And he's stout in the run defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, ask the Packers what were they missing last year. They would tell you a guy that can tackle and a guy that can catch the ball. He can do those 2 things.
And when you feel like you can win a Super Bowl and you're ready to win a Super Bowl, you're missing a couple pieces. Go out and do Super Bowl things and get those missing pieces.
Yeah, you actually sound like Brian Gutekunst. I believe he said, we're not going to go out. I'm paraphrasing here. He's essentially said, we're not going to go out and unnecessarily spend money on these guys. But if the right guy becomes available, we're not afraid to go after an impact player because we believe we can win. And
they have so much cap space, especially if I'm expecting David Bakhtiari gets cut.
Yeah, that frees up like 21 million, I think.
They can free up even more. If you want, you can free up, I believe, a little over 30.
I think someone asked us about that on the mailbag a week ago, maybe 2 weeks, about what's going on with Bakhtiari. All signs indicate he will be cut by the Packers. And I think it's a good move. I think it would be a good move.
Yeah, to free up 20 mil.
Yeah, go get your safety. Yeah, exactly.